does Wall Street and the bankers control the U.S. government? That is perhaps the most debated question in America. The story of J.P. Morgan personally bailing out the U.S. financial system during the Panic of 1907 is true. He famously locked bankers in his library and forced them to pledge capital to stop the panic. This event is the reason why the U.S. Federal Reserve was created. Although the actions of J.P. Morgan and other bankers in 1907 did not create financial debt, meaning that the U.S. government didn't have to pay J.P. Morgan and the other bankers back for bailing out the U.S. financial system. It did, however, unequivocally created a debt of influence and demonstrated a leverage of power that was immense and deeply troubling to many Americans, including politicians. What was most troubling was that during the panic period in 1907, the most important economic decisions for the United States were not being made in the White House or the Treasury building, but in J.P. Morgan's library. He was, in effect, an unelected private central banker. This demonstrated that the financial stability of the nation could hinge on the judgment and resources of a single individual, granting him unparalleled leverage. So the argument that bankers and Wall Street control the government is a compelling and widely held belief which is supported by several strong points reflected in modern-day USA. These points include massive lobbying. The financial industry spends more on lobbying and political contributions than any other sector. This massive financial firepower is used to shape legislation, influence regulators, and gain access to key policymakers. The revolving door. There is a constant flow of personnel between high-level positions in Wall Street firms. Goldman Sachs is the most famous example, and powerful posts in the Treasury Department, the Federal Reserve, and other financial regulatory agencies. Critics argue this ensures that those in government are sympathetic to Wall Street's perspective and that regulators are hesitant to be tough on their future employers. Too big to fail doctrine. The 2008 financial crisis is the ultimate exhibit. The government felt it had no choice but to bail out the very institutions whose reckless behavior caused the crisis. This created a massive moral hazard, signaling to the largest banks that they could privatize gains and socialize losses, effectively making them immune to the free market consequences that would normally control corporate behavior. The 2008 crisis aftermath. The perceived lack of prosecutions for top executives, and the fact that reforms like the Dodd-Frank Act, while significant, did not break up the largest banks, is seen as evidence of Wall Street's power to avoid real accountability.